Hey, Chuck, we had another question from Chloe McIntosh about what are some environments or lesser known industries where IDs might be useful, but are not traditionally thought of as needing someone with a formal title of instructional designer. So here she was thinking more of non-traditional paths to ID, like cultural institutions such as museums or in the language learning space. So how might we explore these non-traditional pathways to instructional design that we don't often talk about and sell our skills and convince an employer to open an instructional design role?
Well, I think that's a great question. And what I have found, and I don't know if others have too, maybe you have, Denise, but what I have found is that there are people doing this work everywhere. They just don't call it this. And institutions are always training. Museums are training docents. I've got physicians and other healthcare professionals. I've got first responders. I've got all kinds of folks. And I think in the last couple of weeks, I've heard from someone who's working in a museum, someone who's working in other non-traditional kinds of categories of things that I think Chloe's talking about. And what you really need to look at is look at the work. Don't look at what people are calling it. Don't think anything about it, but are they training people? So even if it's a half-hour course where somebody's going to sit at a hospital and answer the phone, there is training for everything. And what you have to do is get this new gen mentality, which is, okay, these folks don't think the way that institutions with large number of designers think. They just need to know that this is available. And so sometimes it's a little frustrating because they have to go through a learning curve too. You have to explain to them, this is a science, this is stuff. We know what we're doing. But a lot of times I see this also in volunteer situations. So volunteering for a community group, no matter what it might be. And the work is there. The other thing you're going to find, though, I think, Denise, is that it's harder to get into those situations with people that don't know what this is. Because first you have to convince them that it really is something, and then you've got to convince them that they need you. And it's not always an easy sell or a process that maybe you want to invest in. So the work is there. There's all kinds of stuff to do. You have to decide, am I going to make a living at this? Do I want to make a reasonable amount of money doing it? If I have to spend half of my time convincing them that they need me, is that really worth it? So think new gen. Think, okay, everybody's doing this. I just don't call it this.
And so the marketer in me, the entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
It's so when you make a course, just say on a platform like Udemy, you can't. So as a course designer, developer, facilitator, that's great. That's one set of skills that you're doing to create this environment, this learning space. But then second to that is you need to be able to sell yourself. You need to be able to sell this course idea to potential learners. And in the case of trying to make a career out of that as an entrepreneur, being able to break into an industry that might not necessarily know that instructional design is even something they need, that's going to take that skill set of being able to sell yourself, being able to market your services, to be able to find those challenges, those pain points that organizations have, and they don't even realize that they have them, and that you can provide the value by providing a solution to those pain points. That does require a separate set of skills that is adjacent to instructional design. But to me, that's the most exciting part. I think that's because I am an entrepreneur by heart and a marketer by heart, that is really exciting to me, but it's not necessarily exciting to folks who might think that they don't have that ability.
I'm not a marketer. It's not something I do. It's not something I would enjoy doing. And I've always been one of these people to let my work speak for itself. This is what I do. This is the product. This is how long it takes and how much it costs. If you're interested, terrific. If not, terrific too. If I can find someone that's a better fit for you, I will do that. And I've always been in that situation. I don't want to convince somebody they need an instructional designer. I don't think that's a healthy place for me to be. But that doesn't mean that that isn't valid for someone like you who has a different approach to these things and who's much, exponentially better at it than I would ever be. So I think Chloe's question is right on the money, is looking at these fields where it's not an identified skill within their repertoire of employees and adjuncts and what have you. And the more I do this, the more I see that the new gens, they need a course, they need some help, they need some experience. They don't need anything else. And when you get into that situation, you look at it and, okay, there's all of us that have gotten advanced degrees in this, and we're perfectly happy that we did that, and that needs to continue. Let's not kid ourselves. We need people that have those advanced skills, but not everybody does. So if I am in a position like I was before I even knew what ISD was, where I was simply teaching and being a subject matter expert, then one course would have made all the difference to me. And I think this is the kind of flipping around now and look at it from the other side of this equation. So I'm an organization. I know I need this, but I don't even know what it is. And this is the way we've always done it. So-and-so over in this department always does that. So they're facilitators, whether they're any good or not. They're probably personable and people like them. And that's part of this equation too. But Chloe, I think when you look at this, okay, everybody's doing it. Can you convince them that you could do it for them better? And is it worth the expenditure of your time for what they're willing to give you in return for that?
Yeah. And, you brought up a good point in the beginning, talking about community service type of work. When I was in my graduate program for ISD, one of the courses I took, well, many of the courses, but one in particular, the assignment was to create an entire, just nuts and bolts of a training, finding a training problem and then providing a training solution. So not every problem is going to require a training solution. That was part of the analysis part. But I found this organization that I really believe in. I love what they do out there in the community. So I volunteered my services for 3 months to get to the root cause of something that they were dealing with, a pain point that they were dealing with. And then I provided a solution to them. And some of those solutions were training programs. And so that could have been an in for me if I had wanted to take that approach, which I didn't have it in my capacity to do that. But if I did, and I wanted to be able to find community organizations that need this kind of work, so then you do this analysis work and then you provide these solutions that some of them are training, some of them are instructional design type of projects, that could be a way in as a freelancer to then maybe the organization then realizes, hey, we need this full time. And so it's just building that out. That's one way in. That's what I would suggest, is find something that really speaks to your heart. If you really want to make a go of this, that is one way to do it.
And I think the other thing that's really important is have a portfolio of similar kinds of things that you've done. Because if you're a colony on the moon and you don't have a project to show them within a nonprofit or whatever, a non-traditional organization for ISD, then you're just talking. But have a product. Okay, here's what I did for this group. Look at this. It's not expensive, but look how we took their volunteer training to the next level. Or this is how we took your docents to the next level. Or this is how we took your front door people at the hospital to the next level. And just get out of this idea that ISD is always formal, that it's always something that's within large organizations for people with advanced degrees, because that's just simply not the truth.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Chloe, for sending in that question. Folks, if you have questions, we're here to answer them. It's fun to talk through them. So send them in. Email us, send us a message on LinkedIn, connect with us on LinkedIn, or send us a message right here on YouTube. Thanks so much.